God of War Ragnarok is everything we expected and quite frankly even more. The writing, performance and music are each exceptional, bringing this expansive Norse mythology to life. The elegantly told story engaged and never really stopped to amaze, paired with the fantastically ferocious combat, it all binds together to forge a monumental action epic that adds yet another impressive landmark to the video gaming landscape, in some areas perhaps even towering over its 2018 predecessor. It is important to note that this game will definitely make little sense if started without knowing what happened in the previous game, which is why Santa Monica Studios included an in-game recap of the events that happened last time around just to jolt your memory. And why not subscribe to the channel and give this video a like? It does really help out, so it would be much appreciated. But back to Ragnarok. It is set a few years after the conclusion of the last game, and oh have things changed. Ragnarok is definitely coming and it is painfully obvious. The tired landscapes, damaged mountains, the chaos of the realms. Ragnarok is responsible for all, and in your epic journey to accompany Atreus in his journey to find out who Loki really is, you notice the desperation of not only some of the creatures, but also the folk who are just trying to survive in their realms. This time around the world feels a lot more lived in, and actually you come across a more varied cast that put their individual views both on Odin and the Aesir gods, but also their unique take on Ragnarok and what that means for them. The tale Ragnarok tells is most notably full of twists and unexpected turns, with misleading segments you never really know where it will go next, and that is one of the true strengths of the story this game tells, alongside its grand and very appropriate finale to the end of the Norse saga. Kratos and Atreus' relationship is much more mature, Kratos finally accepting the fact that Atreus grew older and acts less of a father and more of a friend this time around, although Atreus' training is still ongoing, and there are a couple of heartwarming scenes where Kratos realizes that Atreus is becoming the warrior he always dreamed his son to be. Having said that, there are times of struggles between the two, especially in their ideologies. Kratos became an older and wiser god, while Atreus is curious and ambitious as ever, since the findings of who his mother was and how he is linked to the giants. The graphics are as beautiful as expected. The game offers a quality and performance mode on the PlayStation 5, with performance mode being 60 FPS on 1440p and quality 30 FPS on native 4K. Although 4K seemed a bit jittery, and even with motion blur turned all the way up, which only made the game look like a world looked at through resin, it still didn't completely stop the jitteriness of the image. I played through 60 FPS on 1440p and I found absolutely no problems with the image quality or the smoothness of the game, and with the battle system in place as Ragnarok has, you really do need those extra frames, but more on that later. This time around we get to explore all the realms, and all of them are very different, and I say this in the best way possible. Although at first most realms do seem to be restricted and small, as the story unfolds the realms open up, and that's when exploration becomes a gigantic part of the game, with the introduction of some of the best side quests I've seen since The Witcher 3. The land of the dwarves, almost a fairy tale like village of tiny houses, very practical in construction with big water and forest biomes. Alfheim, since the first game, the conflict of the elves have continued on, forcing the dark elves to seek shelter in hives they created for themselves in the vast wasteland deserts caused by Ragnarok, while the light elves live in the palace in glorious luxury. The combat is where the game shines and where most of the changes were made since the previous game. The combat system is not only different, but it has been completely reworked. The animations are smoother, the combos are more thought out, and the skills work in a very interesting and innovative way. To give a brief description, you can purchase skills like in the previous game. However, once purchased, these skills can be leveled up by using them in combat. The leveling tiers go from bronze to silver to gold. Once a skill has reached gold tier, you can apply an enchantment on it, whether to increase the damage or the stun of that specific skill causes to enemies. The enemy variety is Well, I could not even name how many different enemy types we face in this game. All the realms have their own enemy types and different variations of those specific types, with different and unique skills and attack patterns. The game does an absolutely amazing job at mixing up these enemies and throwing them at you at the same time, so you will have to fight tactically, adapting to each enemy type, as bashing a singular button will not work. Ragnarok has mini-bosses, and a lot of mini bosses. In fact, in the first 10 hours of my playthrough, I counted 13 of them. They range from small to medium to very big, and they give a satisfying grand scale to the game that I felt that 2018 God of War didn't quite achieve. While in some instances enemies can indeed overwhelm Kratos, the 3D audio helps immensely in tough combat situations, so much so that I found myself performing significantly worse when I was playing on my TV speakers than when I had a dedicated headset on that could really bring the 3D landscape around me. The voice acting in this game is absolutely phenomenal.
Here to collect on something, pal. Think parading a severed head around on your hip is gonna scare me into somehow approving estrogen secretion proposal, eh?
Christopher Judge giving Kratos yet again one of the most ground-shaking voices. Sonny Sojic, the voice of Atreus, has changed as he has grown from a child into a teenager, sounding more mature and reasonable, no longer an angry child not knowing his true nature, but a half-god, half-giant trying to follow in his mother's footsteps with his father's guidance. And the voice of the maturing Atreus really does fit that narrative well. Thor is an unexpected one here. Ryan Hurst from Sons of Anarchy absolutely pulling off this calm and menacing voice. There's a scene very early on in the game with him and Kratos, and when the two conversed, the tension was so thick even Ragnarok's Fimbulwinter snowstorms couldn't create that sense of wrath.
Are you a calm and reasonable person?
If the moment calls for calm.
Brock and Sindri still being the comic relief of some sorts in the game, and a few other characters do an excellent job, which I will not mention simply because of spoilers. God of War Ragnarok melds action and adventure together to create a game that not only reaches the monumental expectations the first game set, but it has improved upon it and overreached in almost all aspects. Impeccable writing, pitch-perfect performances, knockout action. It's a complete work of art from top to bottom. Reflecting its core themes, it's everything a sequel should be, respectful of its legendary lineage, but not afraid to take it to exciting new places. God of War Ragnarok is an almighty achievement and creates a new high that makes many of its peers look positively mortal by comparison. It truly is a masterpiece in my opinion, and a definite contender for Game of the Year. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more awesome reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.